Hi Beena, welcome to India. I think it's so nice to have you here.
Kaddi, so happy to be here, and given everything that's happening with AI and technology in general in India, it is such an exciting time to be here.
No, indeed, and we just released our State of the AI report a couple of months ago, and some phenomenally interesting trends we are seeing. So enterprises are shifting from experimentation to essentially industrialization. Companies are saying they're doubling down on AI investments, and their periods of ROI are actually shortening, right? Perhaps because they're closer to business, they made better choices of use cases, and also they're focusing more on it. And there's decentralization, and to the extent of them talking about citizen data scientists, right? Which of course is a leap, maybe a bridge quite far.
Yeah.
So, but given that we have quite a amount of global experience, what is your view in terms of the global trends?
Yeah, we had a global state of AI report as well, which aligns with, with what you're seeing in India. There is definitely the focus on identifying the right use case, how to track for ROI. That has matured. Also, the focus on MLOps and scaling, that has matured. The other one that has come to the forefront is around risk and the negative impact, whether it's from a sustainability perspective, equity perspective, the more awareness around it and the motivation for companies and leaders to do something. So, definitely seeing a lot of traction with AI globally. Of course, some industries are ahead than others, but I'm very excited to see AI reaching industries that have traditionally been not digitally native or data heavy, like agriculture or education. Are you seeing any industry-specific use cases which were not there in the past but has become more eminent?
So if you look at India Inc., enterprises in India, the last 3 years almost, which is post-pandemic, there's been significant digitization of process and therefore data. So which has given rise to innumerable opportunities, including family-owned businesses. They've pivoted to saying how their growth strategies from expanding let's say the physical presence to digital presence, and therefore a lot of attendant use cases that come with it. Industrialization and is a big topic that companies are looking at, as well as agility, right? So what we are sort of conversing in the market these days is to say that we may not have, it may not be suitable to look at completely starting from scratch and building solutions, but having pre-built solutions, right? So neither having a productized approach nor a completely bespoke solution approach, but somewhere in the middle, let's say 60-40, 70-30 kind of a thing.
Yes.
So we have all the ammunition to solve the problem. We have the experience of what it takes to adopt this in the enterprise as well, what the issues are, and as well having the flexibility to adjust to context, right? So I think that's what, so agility in AI and industrialization. So for example, we go with solutions for pricing, for recommendation, for promotion, for forecasting, for MLOps, in fact, and bunch of, so we go and have those conversations with clients more than generic conversations these days.
Yes, and you're so right? It's just like we talk about hybrid work. It's this era of hybrid solutions where it's a combination of customized work and bringing in the best minds together. And the advantage that Deloitte brings is really, having those connections deep into the AI ecosystem where we can bring the smartest minds together.
Absolutely. And even from an AI Institute perspective, you'll be actually happy to know that, what you lead globally, even in India, we had one of our mentees, which is a startup, present on Shark Tank in India.
Oh, wow.
Right. So fantastic sort of progress we are seeing. But from an overall perspective, this whole let's say the whole generative AI conversation that has been triggered, right? So text to anything, especially let's say with focus on how generative AI can actually give us outputs, code, bunch of things, right? So it's caused a buzz, but
Yes.
obviously, I mean, there is the initial, let's say, the excitement, but it's been a little tempered with realism these days in India. How do you see it from the US and from a global perspective?
I think in the last 3-4 months, definitely AI has been top of mind for everybody. So AI has come to the masses in the last 3-4 months, but I don't think enterprises are rushing into adopting it as is, because you need to think about the guardrails, the risks that come with it. But you and I, we both work with clients, and we know there's a lot of value that generative AI can bring. Right from whether it is improving your customer experience or creating quick first drafts of content, to actually being able to migrate code from COBOL to help with digital transformation. So there are so many use cases, and I think over the next few months we're going to see a lot more traction on this topic.
No, absolutely. And I think the opportunities are immense, and that's the way we look at it as well. I mean, and you're right that AI has come to to be a conversation topic at the parties, as they say, right? So, but it's interesting. You spoke about the risk element. So, Beena, obviously, you've written the book on trustworthy AI. So, how do you see this evolving, and what do you think? Is it common practice that you see awareness and people understanding, at all levels, the importance of what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, AI is just beginning. We're going to see much more advances coming into it, right? We're seeing the wave of generative AI, but you and I both know that there are many more advances in AI still waiting to happen. And the trustworthy factor is going to get even more crucial, because it involves adoption of the AI solutions that we build. It involves adoption of AI products. It means scaling. Everything needs a trustworthy element, and the reality is, to solve for trustworthiness, you need to look at the use case. That means you need to understand the domain, the functional knowledge, to understand the trustworthiness, the dimensions of it, to solve for it. But Kaddi, tell me a little bit about how are you seeing, what are some of the challenges you're seeing around scaling AI solutions?
So I think a lot of companies enterprises have realized that they need to invest in AI. So their modus operandi typically was, let's do a POC, we'll see where it goes, right? So whether it's, let's say, across sales and marketing, customer, supply chain, finance, HR, one or the other, right? Now, the challenge is, after all of these, they haven't really scaled to productionize it and embed it into the business process. Because, so let's take an example of, let's say, sales and marketing. We have a customer level propensity, we have segments, we have, let's say, recommendations. But eventually, the person who's delivering it is responsible for a sales target. And so they're worried about how this is going to actually add value to their targets that they need to meet in their lives, right? So there is a process. So there are two parts to scaling, right? So one is from a technology perspective and the ability of the model to run, on a fairly consistent basis, not have drift, etc. The second being embedding into the business process. Now, both of these have been issues that we've had to tackle. But there is increasing, I would say, fluency, at least in some of the sectors where there is significantly more amounts of data. Right? People are realizing that data and understanding of, let's say, market and customer is the only true sustainable competitive advantage they can have in the marketplace. So there is significant appetite. And it's not just small companies, even some of the largest in the world are yet to figure out the code on exactly how to scale and productionize.
You touched on something so important, which doesn't come usually in the context of AI or technology, right? The culture, the future of work aspect of it. And it is so important to think about it upfront, because that's what helps your solution scale and drive adoption. I remember a use case where we were looking at predicting when an X-ray machine might fail. As an AI person, as an AI technologist, we focus on making that algorithm the best predictor ever. But in the X-ray machine operator's mind, he or she is thinking, okay, it's going to free up some of my time. but what am I doing with that free time, right? So as leaders, it's important to think about the impact of the job. And when we say, it's humans with machines, it's going to help create more time for creative work. What are they supposed to do in that creative work bucket? It's much more nuanced, right? Which leads to that next question of, everything that we're talking about there. Talent is the underpinning. And there is a big gap. What are some of the things you're doing in India to address that talent gap and the demand for highly skilled talent?
So I think there are 2 or 3 strategies that we're using. One is obviously looking at a number of people who have allied or adjacent experience, or little, if not not too much AI experience, and how can we sort of teach some of these things to them, right? So learning is a very big aspect of what we're doing. With pre-built solutions also it becomes easier, right?
Yes.
I mean, there are elements that, there's a set of things that there's a ladder of learning, right? That becomes easy. Yes. Obviously, we also look at one very critical aspect, which is it's easy to write code, right? What's challenging is 2 parts. One is to understand the core principles of, or rather, let's say 2 buckets. One is from a one line or a business problem. How do I arrive at an analytics problem or a AI problem, right? So let's say revenue is plateauing.
Yes.
Is a nice problem, but how do we get into, do we increase our customer base? Do we increase our existing relationships? Which segment? Horses for courses, etc.
Yeah.
So the business translation and translating the output of the models back into the business. So that's a specific skill set that we've identified, which we are actually building, because there don't exist such people with these kind of experiences.
Yeah, they're almost the unicorns, right? You need the business knowledge and technical knowledge. Yeah.
So as we in our Deloitte parlance call it, they're the red people and the blue people, and we need the purple people, right? So combine these 2. Yeah. So I think that's one. And the second thing is actually, models are available, code is available, but what to apply where, right, is a very significant, and what makes sense, what gives right interpretations, etc. So I think those are 2 skill sets that we are, sort of building our teams around.
Yeah.
That's the core, and the rest we can, sort of look at, maths, statistics, and other sort of skills that can be taught.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think many companies will be taking a similar approach to address this talent gap. Kaddi, this was great to speak with you and connect on everything that's happening with AI in India and the amazing work you're doing at Deloitte India.
Yeah, thanks, Beena. And indeed, I mean, we've been working on the global AI agenda. So I think, APAC and specifically India has got significant amount of action. And I think, we've got much to learn from each other and take this journey forward.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you here.
Yes, thank you so much.